Hi guys, welcome back, and today I'll be doing the next part for what if Cabba was in Universe 7 instead of Universe 6. And last time we let off with the battle against Boo not going how the group had wanted, with them having to fight him using everything they've got, eventually leading to Cabba having to hold off Boo by his own, after finding his new form of Super Saiyan. With him managing to hold off Boo for a while, he does eventually get absorbed by the Margin, and now, not long after the battle, all of the Z fighters who had been left on Earth can sense what had happened, and they can figure out pretty simply that Boo has somehow gotten massively stronger, and Cabba's gone missing alongside the others, but they left at two different times. It's quite weird for them to figure out, and this leaves everyone on Earth in a bit of a weird situation. The only two real fighters they have on hand are Krillin and Yamcha. Tien is on the planet, but they don't quite know where he is. And the two Earthlings are feeling very outclassed. Luckily, the hybrid kids are there alongside 18, but from what they know already, this is far from enough power to even hold off Kabu. Goten and Trunks don't really have any fighting experience. 18 sort of stopped fighting years ago. The only real options they have, like I said, are Krillin and Yamcha. And Krillin looks towards the kids and he tells them to get out of there with the families and fly as far as possible, then shut off your power and hide. Me and Yamcha will try and buy you guys some time. Try find Tien. He might give you a bit of extra help if you were to run into him. With him looking towards his wife, telling her to leave with Marin. With 18 being against this idea, she says how she is the strongest person they have at hand, so she should stay and fight. Krillin goes on to explain how she might be the strongest, yes, and that's why he needs her to defend their daughter and everyone else, so at least the strongest person is defending the families and their friends. With Krillin making it clear that this wasn't something up for debate, and for the first time in their full relationship, Krullin's being very pushy about this, and everyone other than himself and Yamcha leaves the lookout, with the Earthling pair laughing to one another while they rise their power up as much as possible to grab the attention of Kabu, hoping that maybe because the powers are moving he might not chase, but it soon does grab Kabu's attention, with him slowly moving towards the location of the pair. The two quickly back and forthing an idea. They do have one hope, and they aren't sure if it'll work, as it requires them managing to hit Boo for a few seconds, and they aren't even sure if they'll even be able to survive a few milliseconds against Boo. But after a few minutes, he does arrive, with him looking around the lookout for the two powers he had sensed earlier. Around to this point, Goten and the others had dropped their powers dramatically, pretty much disappearing off the face of the earth, and also are now just walking around pretty far away from the lookout. With Boo getting pretty annoyed about this, he shouts out that if the fighters don't show themselves now, he will destroy this planet. With this making Yamcha walk out of the building, he begins to nervously chuckle, and he then takes a fighting stance. With Boo laughing, after getting a good read on Yamcha, the Margin knows that a small attack will kill this man. With the Margin rushing at the bandit, who is much too fast for Yamcha to follow, with this leading to Yamcha getting beat very badly. Eventually, though, another energy appears out of nowhere. Rocketing straight towards Boo, he doesn't actually have too much time to react, with Krillin tackling Boo straight through the wall of the lookout and heading towards the building and towards an open door. And once managing to knock himself and Boo in there, he turns around to shout out to his friend who is struggling to his feet to shut the door. With Yamcha not wanting to, Krillin shouts out once again to do it. Yamcha doing so, and after it's shut, Krillin sends a fast blast towards the entrance, destroying the door. And at this point, Krillin turns back around to Boo, seeing the empty void of the time chamber. Krillin smiles, thinking he might have bested Boo here, and he takes a fighting stance, with him already knowing that Boo is stuck in here, and he is ready to die to make sure that Boo doesn't leave. With Boo, who is very confused at this point in time, not sure what's happening, he turns to Krillin, and the fighter explains how he won't be leaving here anytime soon, or ever, if he has a say in it. Krillin not giving too much information to the Margin, And this is enough to annoy Majin Buu, and he begins to scream, and this begins to crack the opening, much like in canon. However, Krillin does stop this, and he throws a Kienzon, which cuts straight through Boo's face, which does close the portal temporarily, but also annoys the hell out of Boo. With Cabba rushing at Krillin and beginning to beat into him, he does this for a few minutes. However, the margin doesn't kill him. Seeing the battle strategy of this fighter, he decides to absorb Krillin as well, hoping that this fighter's smarts will help him find a way out of here. With this giving him a small increase in power and a sort of small increase in smartness, he's pretty happy with how it went. And the margin then figures out how to escape, and he reappears on the lookout with Yamcha, who is looking in horror seeing him. And the bandit does go to fight Boo, however, he just gets killed. He doesn't take any time to absorb this one, just murders him. On the Supreme Kai planet, we see fighters training with one another, with the likes of Raditz wielding the Z-Sword, trying to get used to the weight of the weapon, with him getting this done at a much faster rate than Gohan, mostly as he is fueling himself with rage, and at this point he's powering through and not really taking any breaks. He's determined to not rest or wait at all. He is going to master this weapon as soon as he possibly can, and then he's going to kill Majin Buu. While Raditz's training is seeing good growth, the others aren't having the same luxury. They can only really spar against one another at this point, and from doing this they can tell it's going to take them ages to be able to even take down Majin Buu. With this making everyone kind of nervous, the only plan they really have is waiting for Raditz to get strong enough to take him down as he is growing the fastest. And a full day passes. Now, during this time, Boo does use his planetary extinction move, with the group of 18 and the hybrids being able to defend everyone from the attack. And this does show up on Boo's radar, and since then he has been searching for them. But for the most part, they have stayed hidden, waiting for the others to show up. They have been using mountains, anything they can find. Even at some point, they swam just to make a good bit of distance and sort of stay out of the radar of Boo. But because there's so many of them, this is very hard, and they do need to stop and rest, thanks to everyone being on very different skill levels. But like I said, for the most part, they have stayed hidden. Now, after their time spent training on the Supreme Kai planet, the likes of Goku, Gohan, and Raditz have all seen pretty good gains. Raditz has seen the most as he was using the Z-Sword to train pretty much all the time, and Goku and Gohan have actually seen pretty good growth themselves. Thanks to the fact they've been fighting each other and getting healed by the Supreme Kai, it has led to them going all out against one another and gaining good Zenkais from these fights. They are nowhere near strong enough to fight off Boo, and they realise that they would probably struggle against Raditz at this point, thanks to the fact he's training so well. But they like to think that at least if they need to buy Raditz some time, if Boo was going to destroy the planet, they could at least do that. And like I said, likes of Raditz has gotten stronger, and they are now getting ready to leave when they decide to test out the Z Sword just to see how hard it can hit. And much like normal, the sword breaks, revealing Elder Kai. With stuff here going pretty normal, the likes of Radix is the one to get his potential unleashed. However, Elder Kai does try to push the idea of getting Gohan's potential unleashed. Seeing how much is in the boy, he understands that it would probably be the strongest outcome. But Raditz is pushing us overpowers anything else. With him knowing that even with his lower potential, it should be more than enough to take down Boo. And Elder Kai does agree with this, but he still thinks the best option would have been Gohan. Now, he explains how long this will take, and the other three are not wanting to wait that long, with the likes of Piccolo, Gohan, and Goku all getting ready to leave. Raditz telling them not to fight until he shows up, or at least until a few hours before he shows up, as at least that way they won't die. Plus, if they can just avoid Boo and not get absorbed like I did, or they don't know it yet, but Krillin, they will make it so Boo doesn't grow any stronger. Maybe try and come up with a way to get their friends back. With them all agreeing to this, they all grab onto Kibito and they get teleported back to the world of the living. And once arriving, the three notice how there is not anywhere as near as much power on the planet. They sense around, and the few powers they can detect are just Boo and one or two citizens that manage to survive the, you know, planetary extinction attack. Now, this does leave them in an awkward spot, as they don't want to run into the margin, and this is easy because his power is, massive and it's not hard to miss, but they're also trying to look for their friends and looking for someone's power who's trying to hide is hard when there is one massive power just flexing its presence. They do have a hard time trying to find them, but they do begin to lower their powers as well and begin to search for their families. With them managing to find everyone after a few hours, they don't keep them so low that they can hardly move and just have to move like normal. They just make it so they can jump around and get to places pretty fast, staying out of Boo's way for the most part. And once finding everyone, the likes of Chi Chi is happy to see her husband and son alive. With Bulma asking about Raditz, they explain everything they know, explaining where he is and what's happening, saying how he's going to show up and he should be enough to deal with Boo. But when Mai asks about Cabba, everyone goes awkward and silent. And Goku explains the whole situation about how Boo absorbed him, and that's why he's so much stronger. And Cabba held off Boo to give them a chance to find a way to defeat him. Raditz is now trying to cover that, but he needs some time. We'll bring him back with Mai crying while Haru is confused. After all, he's quite young, he's probably only 3 here, and he doesn't quite understand what's going on. But the likes of Goten and Trunks have been keeping the young boy entertained, knowing that if he was to get nervous or scared, he's probably still at an age where he would cry and make a lot of noise. So the two hybrids are trying to comfort him. And once Gohan does show up, he also tries. The boy, like I said, isn't too fixed in on what's happening, but he does try to comfort his mother, who we can see is crying. With a small bit of time spent getting back up to speed with one another, the three fighters look at everyone saying how they are only going to go fight Boo when there is only an hour left until Raditz will show up. This is mostly so they can make sure Boo is either weakened or he will be at a spot where he's easier to find. They're going to try and make it so he doesn't blow up the planet by revealing their powers every now and again. But for the most part, they're going to stay hidden and they're just going to have to wait one full day. And thanks to the fact that everyone is moving carefully, and whenever they try and tip Boo off to where they are, the likes of Goku or Gohan would move quite far away from the group, lift their powers up dramatically, then use Nimbus to travel back to the group. It led to them managing to make good ground and sort of lead Boo on for a while. There were times he nearly found them, but for the most part, they managed to make it towards Goku and Cabba's house, where they believe they are probably fully safe to have a good rest and not have to tip Boo off to where they are anymore. The only reason I'm saying they do this is because Boo isn't a patient person. He doesn't know there's a strong fighter coming, and without that promise, he's more than likely just going to get bored and blow up the planet. So tipping him off that there is someone here who's quite strong, stronger than they were yesterday anyway, would probably catch his interest and he would spend a lot of time looking for them. He probably wouldn't resort to the planetary extinction attack again. It's just a waste of time. Not enough people on the Earth to, kill, and the people who are alive could pretty much defend themselves. So, yeah, he doesn't resort to this. And thanks to the fact they make it to these family houses, they manage to get some rest. They manage to eat, and they just go to sleep, waiting for the next day to roll around. And not much sleep was had. No one really can sleep, they're all on edge. But early in the morning, Goku and Gohan can sense something that's pushing them over the edge. The surviving members of the attack on the planet are being killed, cities are being destroyed, and it's just not a good spot for everyone to be in. You see, in his boredom here has probably just gone off on a destruction spree, hoping this would draw out the fighters, knowing how they work a little bit better thanks to the likes of Cabba's influence, also Krillin, but these are also trying to fight back against the evil side and try and make him stop. With Goku and Gohan knowing that they only need to survive a short time to, go and stop Boo, they get ready to leave, with Piccolo joining them. And then, before they can fully leave 18 looks towards them, asking if she can join, saying how that monster took her husband, and this isn't really something up for debate. She's going whether they like it or not. With none of them arguing about this, however, does rally the kids, who want to go and help as well, not wanting to be left out. However, everyone knows this is very much out of their league. They promise that next time, when they're a bit stronger and a bit older, they can join in, but for now, they have to be patient and wait here. With this done, the four warriors fly off towards Boo, with Goku and Gohan jumping up to Super Saiyan 2 during this flight, grabbing the attention of Boo, who is finally happy that something worthwhile has shown up. He begins to fly towards the group and arrives at them. He begins to laugh, saying how it took them so long to come and try and defend their planet, but they finally come out of hiding. With him sensing that he's still loads stronger than them, you can tell that they're a bit stronger. With everyone getting ready to fight Boo, with him laughing, saying how they are one member down, aren't they? Where's that long-haired one? Has the coward ran? And Piccolo says how Raditz will be here soon, strong enough to kill him actually. With Boo's attention grabbed, he likes this idea. He asks, how long will he take? With the group kind of shocked at this, they just respond only an hour. With him pretty pleased with that, he explains how he'll wait patiently for him to arrive. You guys would just be a good warm-up anyway. Might as well have a good fight. With the fighters really shocked about this, but Boo just lands to the floor and sits down, waiting. With everyone really confused, he just sort of sits there. Everyone stays on guard, but for the most part, Boo's new Saiyan genes in him, and also the fact that Boo did this in canon, he just sits there waiting. And after a full hour had passed, Group feel Razitz's presence on the planet, with them surprised at how much stronger he's gotten. With them pointing it out to Boo, he also senses it. With him knowing that he's coming straight here, they all sit around waiting, and after a few short seconds, Raditz arrives at the battleground. Now, once Raditz arrives, he looks different. He is different. His whole energy is completely different. And Goku and Gohan notice how that he isn't even in Super Saiyan, but his power is incredible. When he arrives, he straight up knows he outclasses everyone on the planet. He even knows he outclasses Boo at this point. He stares down the margin, and this makes Boo feel a bit weird. The margin stares back at the man laughing, saying, are you the one who they believe can stop me? With Raditz laughing to himself before staring Boo dead in the eyes, with him saying how he's here to destroy him, before showing off his true power, making everyone, including Blue, realize the victor of this match before it even begun. Raditz's power is incredible. It's far above that of Ultimate Gohan's from canon. Why is this? Raditz is stronger than base Gohan from canon. His potential may be much less. Because his base is stronger than Gohan's by leaps and bounds, it leads to him being loads stronger. With Raditz then landing a punch in Boo's gut, making the Margin spit up blood and stagger backwards. With Raditz happy he can deal with Boo, he looks towards Margin, saying, return Cabba and Krillin, the beating you get won't be anywhere near as bad. Hell, I'll even make your death painless. With this giving Boo the idea to try and absorb more people to outpower Raditz, he just needs to think of who the right one is. With him eyeing down Goku, knowing him to be the strongest out of the buffet he has in front of him, knowing that Raditz will be too on guard. And Raditz notices this, and he says how, if you're planning on absorbing my brother, you better be ready to die. I'm going to ask you once again, and I'm going to ask once more nicely. Return my friends, or feel the most painful death you'll ever feel. I can get my friend back another way. I'm just trying to be polite. At this point, Raditz is bluffing. He's unsure if the Dragon Balls would bring back everyone. He hopes this would work and make Boo, fall for it and earn his friends. However, it doesn't. With Boo saying how he doesn't believe him, he gets ready to try and absorb Goku, quickly rushing at him. With him not really thinking too much, Raditz quickly kicks Boo straight in the face, sending him flying backwards. With Raditz clearly showing off how much he outclasses him. However, this was part of Boo's plan. There is a bit of a pink blob. No. Raditz sees everything Boo's doing, and he's not cocky like Gohan here. He's only leaving Boo alive right now to try and figure out how to get his friends back. That pink blob that Boo just dropped is destroyed instantly. with Raditz saying how he doesn't seem to be getting the picture here. Boo is going to lose. Just return my friends. With this getting Boo increasingly angry, he begins to attack Raditz, who begins to effortlessly dodge everything thrown towards him. Raditz, knowing he needs to think fast and start going on the offensive to try and figure out how to, beat Boo, he begins to attack. And not really having to try, he's beating Boo effortlessly. However, Raditz is really stumped on a way to get his friends back. He doesn't want to gamble his friend's life on the fact that maybe the Dragon Balls might bring them back. And after a short scuffle, he comes to the same idea Vegito had. He wants to make it look like he can get absorbed and take them out this way. Now, he doesn't know how to do this naturally, but he has got a bit of an idea. He drags out the fight for a while longer, and slowly his power begins to drop over time. And eventually he drops out of his ultimate form, with him making a scene saying how he wasn't used to the form, or trying to really sell this idea. And with this opening being presented, Boo absorbs Raditz, with the others on the side trying to power up to save Raditz. However, they are much too late, with Raditz getting absorbed. With Raditz once entering Boo puts up the key shield, much like Vegito would have done. Well, it was not just put up, it was put up beforehand, but you get what I mean. And once he's in there, he begins to search around for his friends. Any resistance Boo tries to put up is not really working, because on the outside, everyone there is fighting Boo, trying to beat him, with the likes of Goku, Gohan, Piccolo, and 18 all doing as much as they physically can to stop him. So Boo is fighting a battle on two fronts, trying to win both sides, and it's leading to a bit of discoordination, leading to some good blows being hit from the outside, and also leading to Raditz being able to wander quite freely on the inside. And after a while, Raditz does manage to find his friends. He grabs both of them and then runs into Fat Boo. You see, here he doesn't pick up Fat Boo. He doesn't see Fat Boo as good. In fact, he's the one who pretty much almost killed them and hasn't seen the good side. So he leaves Fat Boo and exits Majin Buu, with them managing to escape pretty easily. Like I said, Boo's in a bit of spot where he's discoordinated in his own body. Eventually, when they manage to get out, they instantly grow back up to size, and Kabu's armor almost instantly disappears, and also his whole figure changes quite a bit, with him then losing power dramatically. He's still stronger than everyone other than Raditz, but he feels pretty nervous right now. And once this is done, Raditz puts down Cabba and Krillin, who 18 instantly runs towards her husband's side, while Cabba and Krillin slowly get up. Everyone is happy to see the pair back up, but Boo is pretty enraged here, and he does go to blow himself up. However, Raditz catches the Margin by the neck and slams him straight into the ground, stopping this explosion, with Raditz then using Boo's face to send the creature flying into the sky with a kick. This is where Raditz charges up the biggest double sundaes he can create at this point in time. Sending it straight towards Boo, he holds it for as long as he physically can, remembering what happened with Cell, and this leads to him getting destroyed. Boo dead, Raditz sighs in relief, thinking how he's lucky he got this power. With Raditz turning back towards his best friend, he apologizes for not being able to help him fight off Boo before, but now he will take his place above that of Cabba's new form. With the Saiyan happy to hear that Raditz's fire for training has been reignited to a bigger flame than ever, he's also happy to see that the Saiyan that once tried to destroy the planet is defending it. Everyone collects themselves and takes Cabba back to their families, with Mai and Huro happy to see him again. They hug him, with Cabba saying how he's sorry for disappearing, but he's happy the pair are safe, with him praising the likes of Huro for defending his mother. Once this is all said and done, the likes of Shin and Kibito show up, saying how they would like to thank everyone in their own way by helping them bring back everyone on their planet, with Goku saying how if they can just get a lift to New Namek, that would be great. With this being done, it doesn't take long for the Dragon Balls to be collected, thanks to the fact it's Goku who went, Namek's savior. Doesn't take the Namekians long to sort everything out for him. they do owe him one for, sort of defeating Frieza and saving their planet years ago. With everyone on Earth being wished back thanks to the fact that Namekian Dragon Balls had been upgraded, and also when they had a few spell wishes, they didn't really know what to do. So they just sort of left them. They only really needed to bring back everyone who died. They didn't think about taking away people's memory of Boo because there's no Boo alive to, people scared. So it's just sort of something people remember here. But I want to cover the 2 year time skip, and this is, at the end of the Boo saga and it's to Super. Now, there's not much to cover here, so I just sort of want to breeze through it a little bit. So the first things I'm really going to cover is how everyone's training, and I'll mostly be covering the likes of Goku, Cabba, and Raditz. The first things I want to say is that Cabba and Raditz will be taking a lot of their training time to perfect their new forms, with Raditz pretty much not having to do too much of this, and Cabba having to do this quite a bit, but this does lead to them overtaking Goku by a large margin. Now, they probably aren't as training as much as Goku, however, these new forms they have far outclass anything Goku has. And I do want to say that their base continues to grow strong as well, and they are increasing in power, don't get me wrong, they're probably staying level with Goku, if not above him, just in base. Anything above Super Saiyan, they outclass him pretty much. But this does lead to our protagonist not wanting to fall behind, and he begins to do some of the most intense training he can do. He doesn't want to follow anyone's route, he doesn't want to copy his brother, and he can't learn Cabba's transformation, thanks to the fact he's missing a tail, so he's going to find his own way about this. And he begins to push himself as hard as possible, and eventually, after 1 year and 6 months, he manages to take the next step in evolution for Super Saiyan, after pushing his body past its limits and his abilities far beyond what he believed he could do. He breaks through the limits of Super Saiyan 2, discovering Super Saiyan 3. With him being proud of what he had found, he soon sensed by the likes of Raditz and Cabba, who are impressed by Goku's sudden increase in power and begin to fly over to him. Seeing Goku floating above the river near his house, clearly holding on to whatever form he may have just discovered with everything he has, his friends shout out to him, and Goku drops out of this form, with the two asking Goku what that was, and Goku goes on to explain how he had been trying to catch up with them for ages, and this is his way to push through the limits. This is the next evolution of Super Saiyan. Well, after whatever Cabba's thing is, with them quickly pointing out what they could sense the big issue with that form is, and Goku does agree. He feels like it might be a tough form to get hold of. However, he does plan to try and at least get the form to the point where he can sort of use it. With Raditz saying how he might as well just get, the same form as me, but Goku says how he's trying his own thing. And this sort of leads to a weird discussion between the group. They need to figure out what to name these forms. Past Super Saiyan 2, the likes of Cabba's form and Goku's form don't have names. So maybe they should number them, and this makes it a bit easier to keep track of the forms, and maybe they should do it by whichever one's strongest, or something, because Cabba's furry form and that long-haired form, by the way, your hair looks just like mine, brother, it's going to get a bit confusing. We should probably name them. And this does lead to them naming their forms as their canon selves. This is mostly to save me a headache having to say Super Saiyan 3 for Super Saiyan 4, as Super Saiyan 4 was discovered first, and this is just going to save me a massive headache. But they already know who has the strongest form, which is Cabba. That's why his is called Super Saiyan 4, being the strongest of the Super Saiyans. Now, in terms of power, I want to discuss how the power ranking goes. And in the lead is Cabba, unsurprisingly. Thanks to the fact his form gives the greatest multiplier, and he's also grown quite incredibly strong during this time, it has led to him taking the lead. But it isn't as strong as he possibly could have got, thanks to the fact he had to train himself to get used to Super Saiyan 4. But he is definitely in the lead, and following along behind Cabba is Raditz, who is actually managing to keep up with his friend quite well. Thanks to the fact the ultimate form isn't something that needed a lot of work, he eventually just kept pushing his base and eventually got strong enough where he could possibly keep up with Cabba, but eventually Cabba would outpower him. Cabba's form is much stronger in just terms of multipliers, and Cabba's one advantage would be that he's sort of close. And finally, the weakest of the pure-blooded Saiyans is Goku. who has spent a lot of time trying to break his limits, leading to him learning Super Saiyan 3. With him having spent more time training to push past his limits, he's much weaker than his friends. However, I would argue he's stronger than his counterpart, thanks to the fact he's pushing himself hard. And this is a combination of a lot of things. Like I said, he's pushing himself harder than he probably ever has because he's falling behind for the first time in ages. And also, he's trying to make sure that even though he has the weakest transformation, he's able to keep up. But this is just something I needed to mention. Alongside this, there's someone else I want to bring up. I want to briefly talk about Gohan. During this time, he does continue to train a small amount, but after his marriage with Videl, he does stop training nearly altogether. He does do it a little bit, but for the most part, he does drop it. But I have a question I'm going to ask at the end of the video to do with Gohan, so keep in mind for that. Now, we jump forward through our next 2 years to the celebration of Bulma's birthday, with Goku being here for a few reasons. One, he doesn't have instant transmission, so he can't leave, and also he's forced quite heavily to come. One, Bulma is his sister-in-law, and two, Bulma is his sister-in-law. So he doesn't really get an escape here, with his sister-in-law being very pushy about this. With things happening sort of normal, the group are warned about Beerus's incoming threat, with Goku being warned alongside Raditz and Cabba. Now, this is a warning from King Kai, and unluckily for them, they don't actually know too much about Beerus. If anything, Cabba and Raditz might know a small bit about Beerus after hearing some stories from Vegeta and Nappa. However, I don't think they would know too much of him, and they might even be a bit overconfident here. Remember, they are hundreds of times stronger than even all of the strongest Saiyans on planet Vegeta put together, so they aren't too worried about the arrival of Beerus. With him arriving shortly after, the three meet him, with the surviving full-blooded Saiyans being asked about the Super Saiyan God, with none of them having a clue what it is. They all sort of just look at each other, explaining how they don't really know what this Super Saiyan God is, but they can show off the normal Super Saiyan, with all three of them jumping up to Super Saiyan form, grabbing the attention of everyone all around who can sense energy. All the hybrids come over, with Harrow now beginning to train. He can sense that his father has transformed, and they come over and see that two people they don't recognize is with Beerus, saying how this won't be enough for a good fight. Even if all of you came at me at once, it would be a boring match for me. With the likes of Goku, Raditz, and Cabba confused, they all say how they can get much stronger than this if a fight is what he's after. With Beerus interested, he tells them to pick amongst themselves to pick who will come up against me first. With Goku winning the game of rock, paper, scissors, he leads himself over to the ocean, where Beerus flies as well. Beerus tells Goku to show off his true power, and Goku agrees. Goku shows off his Super Saiyan 2 form, with Beerus still not impressed. And Goku, unsure of how powerful Beerus is, truly believes it's best that he just goes all out now. He begins to scream and cause a massive surge of power coming off him. He's having a much harder time to activate Super Saiyan 3 than he did in canon. Keep in mind, he's only had a few months to train with it, and after a short few minutes of screaming, he achieves his Super Saiyan 3 form. With everyone being surprised at how strong Goku is and why he's going all out against someone they can't sense the energy of, they all just sort of sit and watch from the sides. With everyone's family and friends kind of confused at what's happening, Cabba and Radix explain the whole situation, with Chi-Chi saying how it's probably not a good idea to, fight someone called a god of destruction, and the two Saiyans realise that maybe this was a bad idea, but then respond saying how Beerus was the one who asked for a fight, and the angel on the side of the boat is digging some food. However, he is taking an interest in these Saiyans, wondering what all of them will show off. Now, Goku's fight with Beerus is short. He manages to, fight Beerus off for a few seconds while in Super Saiyan 3, but he hasn't got as good a control as the form as he did in canon, but he's also much stronger. It's kind of weird. It's much more draining for him, and he won't be able to hold the form for long, but he is at least able to fight him, sort of. The fight does end very fast when Beerus sort of gets serious, and Goku is knocked down into the water. With Gohan jumping in to go and save his father, Beerus asks for the next fighter to come up. With Goku now saved from being drowned, he looks over to his friends, expressing how he's never felt something so strong hit him. With Raditz and Cabba a bit shaken up now, They get ready to fight him, with Raditz saying how he's the weaker of the two, so he'll go first. And hopefully Cabba will have something at the end. With Raditz flying up, Beerus is expecting him to show off what Goku did, thinking it will be funny to see someone with such long hair transform into something with really long hair as well. However, when the fighter jumps up to the ultimate form, Beerus recognizes it instantly, and he gets quite annoyed, asking how did he get it, with Raditz explaining the whole situation about the sword, and how it broke, how it released him. This makes Beerus a little annoyed, and he makes a mental note to go and sort out that Kai. However, his fight with Raditz is one that lasts a while. He manages to push Beerus quite well. Thanks to the fact that Raditz never stopped training, he's actually kind of putting a bit of strain on Beerus. The best I could compare it to is probably Super Saiyan 2 Enraged Vegeta up against Beerus, and he's not doing too bad of a job here. And eventually, it does lead to Raditz getting defeated. However, he's knocked into the side of the boat, pretty much almost capsizing the boat. However, the hybrid Saiyans there fly over to the other side and push it back. With them struggling a little bit, they do manage to do it. With Beerus growing very bored, the cat looks down towards Cabba, who feels extremely nervous, but a bit excited. He flies up, and he's not really too sure what he can do against Beerus, and Beerus isn't expecting much. But he does tell Cabba to get up here and not bore him. With Cabba doing so, Beerus states how if this isn't entertaining even a little bit, he will be destroying this planet. With Goku and Raditz hearing this, they try and come up with a plan once the two are back up and functioning. The two come to the idea to ask Shenron about the Super Saiyan God while this fight's going down. With Raditz knowing his wife is the Bull's present, he goes and grabs them, and that whole ritual thing will be done during this short battle. Now, Cabba gets ready to fight Beerus, with the small Saiyan taking a stance. Beerus asks curiously which one of those forms he will be using, the long-haired blonde form or that silly Kai ritual. With Cabba saying neither, he lets his energy push out, and he does scream a bit, but it's not too much of a demanding form for him to turn into. And eventually he turns into his Super Saiyan 4 form. With him having a good mastery of this form, there is basically no drain from it, and it's a very fast swap from base to 4. With this being the first power to truly interest Beerus, Beerus actually takes a proper stance as well. If you need to compare it to anything, I don't really know what to offer you here. I can't imagine Super Saiyan 4 is able to rival the gods, and I'm a strong believer that God is hundreds of times stronger than 4, but 4 has the advantage of just being so much easier to hold. Beerus is at least going to have to try harder than he did against anyone before the God Ritual in canon. And this might lead to Beerus dragging out the fight, with Cabba actually managing to land a lot of good hits in. And instead of being, you know, just sort of one or two good hits, Cabba is able to keep up a fight for a while. And this is entertaining to Beerus to some degree, but it's clear that Beerus is holding back very dramatically. And after a while, two voices are heard shouting out to them. With Beerus annoyed that someone's trying to, stop his battle, he kicks off a little bit, saying how why should he listen to them? But they go on to explain how they understand how to get this Super Saiyan God here. With Beerus now fully interested in, everything's explained to him. And the fact there are more than enough Saiyans here, it leads to Vidal's pregnancy staying a secret. Now, I'm going to end this video here because I want to ask a question. Who should get the God form? And I'm going to give you the options. It's going to be either Raditz, Goku, or Cabba. With them being the strongest, it does lead to them being the main options. Cabba is the strongest, Raditz is second, and Goku is the weakest. But who should take up the ritual out of the three? And I have another question I was going to ask earlier, but I'm leaving it for here. What route should Gohan take in terms of transformations? Thanks to the influence of Cabba in his life, even though he has stopped training currently, he will pick it back up soon. And I want to know which route people believe Cabba should take. Should he follow in his father's steps and try and learn the Super Saiyan 3 form? Should he take his uncle's idea and get the old Kai ritual done to himself? Or should the presence of the power of the gods push him to get the ritual done to himself? But that's all I wanted to ask. Which one would you believe Gohan would choose and stick with? I'm not going to let him branch out and do multiple. I'd likely believe that Gohan would stick with one, and that would be his main one. So let me know down in the comments. And for the most part, I hope everyone enjoyed. I hope you have a great day or a good night, and I'll see you next time.